I have a very important question for you. Do you have a passport? When does it expire?
Ooh, good question.
Do you know why I'm asking that question?
Please tell us.
Because I thought, I wonder when my passport expires. And I looked recently and was like, it's going to expire in 6 months. So I heard that you can't travel with an almost expired passport. So we wanted to get a video out to you just as a reminder. Check your passport, check your expiration date.
The expiration date of your passport.
Yeah.
How long do passports last?
10 years.
10 years, but 10 years can fly by.
So that's a great opportunity to get a new photo. I mean, right? Because 10 years, you could look really different.
What did 10 years do for Macaulay Culkin?
Okay, so where do you go to get your passport renewed?
I don't know, Heather. Where do you go to get your passport renewed?
So I went to the U.S. Post Office in our town, and I filled out all the paperwork as much as I could ahead of time, and you have to use a black ink pen. You cannot use blue, is what they told me. So use your black ink pen, fill it out, take your existing passport, because they will mail that with your renewal application, and take your checkbook. Or money order or cashier's check. You cannot use a credit
Canadian
card.
dollars. Oh.
You cannot use a credit card
Sorry.
to renew your passport with the state.
No loonies either.
Loonies?
It's Canadian currency.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that. So anyway, you have to have a check, money order, or traveler's check, I think it is. Cashier's check.
No pesos.
But you can pay the execution fee for the post office and...
With Bitcoin.
So you can pay the post office for their fees. You can pay with a credit card. So anyway, if you don't want to do a check for both.
Word to the wise.
So that's good.
Renew your passport. Check the expiration date. You don't want to be caught flat-footed on that.
Yep.
Be sure that you check that you do not have a passport that's about to expire 6 months after your cruise. If you're in that 6 month window, you could run into some snags.
Yep, correct. Okay, so the other thing people talk about is, well, what about the passport card?
Card, you say? That's very different than passport book that I'm most familiar with. Tell us about the passport card.
Okay,
Heather.
so the passport card, from my understanding, is that you can not fly internationally with it, but you can travel by land or sea. So if you were to, say, board a cruise ship in Texas, you could have a passport card. Now, if you were on an excursion and you were in international waters and for whatever reason you had to stay in port and fly home, that passport card would more than likely not be as convenient for you. And I have heard that you would not be able to fly with it. So if you're willing to take the risk and you're going to get on in Florida or get on in Texas and do your little cruise and come back, nothing's going to happen. So go for it. But personally, we did passports because if anything happened, we had them.
That's right. So walk us through the process, Heather, as you're trying to renew the passport. What does that look like?
Okay, so I had to make an appointment at the post office. You can't just show up. A lot of times they might have certain days that they're open for walk-ins, but you have to make an appointment. And so you go to the post office with your application filled out. You can't sign it until you are actually there in front of them. So that was good to know.
You have to witness it.
Yep, and they'll look at your driver's license. Like I said, you have to take your existing passport. They take that. And they'll look through your application renewal to make sure that everything is accurate. And it takes probably, I was there about 15 minutes or so by the time from start to finish. Had my checkbook and my credit card. So that was all I needed. Now, for a new passport, you have to have a birth certificate. And you can't have a copy of a birth certificate. You have to have an original, and it has to have the raised seal on it. They will send your passport application back to you if you do not have the raised seal. We had friends that were applying for all their families, and she did not have the raised seal, and they sent hers back, so she had to get the raised seal on her birth certificate before they would accept her passport application.
Wow, that's pretty intense.
Yep. So there are some regulations you definitely
that,
have to follow.
How would you go about like ordering a new one if you didn't have a raised seal birth certificate?
So usually you can get them at the county, in the like a register of deeds that you live in, and it's usually a $10 or $15 fee per birth certificate. I think 10 for the first copy, and I think 3 for each additional copy. So it's good to have a few of those on hand anyway. But if you are older and you don't live in the same state or city that you were born in, you're going to have to find that original county and state and go either probably online. Most places have them online. You can fill them out. You fill out your birth information and they'll send it to you. So you're going to see a passport renewal application form, and then it's really great. They give you a checklist that you can look through and make sure you have everything that you need before you go to the post office, which is wonderful. The renewal application is $110. If you get the photo at the post office, it'll be $15. Also, so for kids, you have to have both parents, if both are living, both have to be there. But each child's application, 16 and under, is $80 each, and then for a new one it's $35 additional on that, and then the photo fee on top of that. Now, one thing to note for kids 16 and under, passports expire every 5 years. So adults are 10, 16 and over are 10, or I'm sorry, 17 and older it would be, and then kids are only 5. So our boys' passports will only be good from 5 years from when they were issued. So because kids change so much.
So plan that in your budget.
Yep. So if you are planning a family vacation and you would rather be safer than sorry, I highly recommend getting the passport books. It's going to get you internationally air. It'll get you land or sea. And a lot of times, actually, when we got off the ship, they told us we had to take our passports with us this time. This was our first time on our recent cruise on the MSCC side. A lot of times when they were giving the announcements, they said you have to take your cruise card and your passport. Typically, we'd always been able to take just our driver's license. So I know that when we got back on in the Bahamas, I had to show all 4 of our passports to get back on. And I think passport cards would have worked there as well. But passports, I had to show all 4. And the boys, she looked at each of the boys. And then...
So don't be caught with an expired passport before, when it's too late. Yep. That you can't do anything about it.
Yep. That is something to note. So say either you have an emergency trip or you just completely forgot to look at your passport and it's like it expires in a month. There are expedited services. I know that there's one in Chicago. I know that there are other places. I'm not exactly sure where the others are. You can find them on the passport and the government websites. But you can go and get a passport pretty much same day, but it is more expensive.
Yep. So be proactive, stay ahead of the game, and renew your passport so that you can have a more enjoyable vacation and not stress about being left on an island.
Yes.
Unless you want to be left on an island.
Maybe you want to be left on the island.
You know what?
That'd be great. Anyway, thanks for watching. We appreciate your support. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer.
Comment below. We'll do our best to answer those in our next videos.
Or we'll direct you to someone that can. Oh my gosh, you pull it off so well, Rob.